If you've ever stood in your kitchen, morning light settling across the counter, looking at a carton of eggs and thinking, wait, how many of these is too many for me now? You're not alone. Because once you're past 60, you don't just eat on autopilot anymore. You notice how your body responds. You notice what gives you steady energy and what doesn't. And you start caring less about food rules and more about what actually helps you feel strong, clear, and steady. And eggs sit right in the middle of that confusion. Some people still treat eggs like a sometimes food. Others eat them daily and feel better than they have in years. So what's the truth? Here's the calm answer. For most people, eggs aren't the problem. But the way eggs have been discussed for decades has been the issue. A lot of the fear around eggs came from older research that didn't separate the egg from the rest of the plate. Eggs were often studied alongside processed breakfast meats, sugary pancakes, refined flour, and oils that didn't support heart health. So eggs ended up guilty by association. But nutrition doesn't work like that. Your body responds to patterns. It responds to context. And that's one of the most important senior health tips you can keep with you. Foods rarely act alone. So let's do this the senior standard way. No drama, no fear, just a clear, steady look at what eggs actually provide, why the cholesterol story changed, how to eat eggs in a way your body handles well after 60, and what a reasonable daily number can look like for different people. Before we go further, let me ask you something. Have you ever avoided a food because you were told you should, but deep down you noticed your body actually felt better when you ate it? If you have, that doesn't mean you were imagining things. It often means your body was responding to something real: satiety, stable blood sugar, better protein, or simply a meal that didn't leave you crashing an hour later. And that's exactly why eggs deserve a fair conversation. Eggs are one of the most complete foods nature designed, not because they're trendy, but because they were built to support life. In one egg, you're getting high-quality protein with all the essential amino acids, natural fats that help you stay satisfied, and nutrients that matter more as we age, like choline for brain and nerve support, fat-soluble vitamins like A and D, and antioxidants that support eye health. What's especially helpful is how usable the nutrition is. Some foods contain nutrients that your body struggles to absorb, but eggs tend to be more bioavailable, meaning your body can actually take what's there and use it without working overtime. That matters after 60, when digestion, absorption, and recovery aren't always as effortless as they used to be. Now, the egg aisle can make this feel more complicated than it needs to be. You've seen the labels: cage-free, free-range, vegetarian-fed, natural, omega-3, organic. Some of these labels help, some are mostly marketing, and you don't need to feel overwhelmed by any of it. A simple way to think about it is this: the more natural the hen's life and diet, the more nutrient-dense the egg tends to be. Pasture-raised eggs, when you can get them, often have higher levels of certain vitamins and omega-3 fats. Organic can matter too, but it mainly refers to feed quality. And if pasture-raised organic isn't accessible, you're not failing, as regular eggs still provide strong nutrition. Perfection isn't required for progress. Consistency is what counts. Now let's talk about the topic that made eggs famous and feared: cholesterol. For decades, eggs were treated like they automatically raise cholesterol and harm the heart. But what we understand now is more nuanced and, honestly, more reassuring. Your liver produces most of the cholesterol in your body. It adjusts production based on what you need. And for many people, eating cholesterol does not dramatically raise blood cholesterol. What tends to push harmful patterns more strongly is a different mix: excess sugar, refined carbs, chronic inflammation, and certain processed oils, especially when they're paired with low movement and poor sleep. Cholesterol itself isn't a villain. Your body uses it to build cell membranes, make hormones, support vitamin D production, and create bile for digestion. It's part of repair and maintenance. So when you hear cholesterol, it's helpful to think, this is a building material in the body. And this is where eggs often get misunderstood. But does that mean everyone can eat unlimited eggs, no matter what? No, that's not exactly what we're claiming. It means eggs can be part of a heart-supportive pattern for many people, especially when the rest of the plate supports stable blood sugar and low inflammation. So let's get practical. How many eggs can you eat per day? For many generally healthy adults, 2 to 3 eggs per day fits comfortably into a balanced diet. It's a solid sweet spot where people often feel satisfied, energized, and steady. Some people can also do well with 4 eggs per day, especially if those eggs replace a more processed breakfast and are paired with fiber-rich foods like vegetables, berries, or beans. And yes, there are people who eat more than that and feel great, but usually that happens in a very specific context, a diet that is low in refined sugar, low in ultra-processed foods, and paired with enough protein, hydration, and movement. Because again, context matters. For older adults, eggs can be especially helpful. Muscle loss with age is real, and it's not just about strength. Muscle supports balance, posture, joint stability, and independence. Eggs provide protein that's easy to digest for many people, and they can help you keep that maintenance signal consistent. So for many seniors, 1 to 3 eggs per day is a very reasonable range, depending on appetite, digestion, and the rest of the diet. For people with insulin resistance or type 2 diabetes, eggs are often a steady choice because they contain very few carbohydrates. They can help you build a breakfast that doesn't spike and crash. 2 eggs a day is a common starting point, and some do well with more, especially when the rest of the diet stays consistent and supportive. For very active people, such as those walking daily, strength training, staying physically engaged, 3 to 5 eggs may fit well because the body is using protein to repair and rebuild. So what about the group that asks this question the most? People who've been told they have high cholesterol. Here's where the senior standard approach is simple. Don't make eggs the only focus. For many people, the more meaningful questions are, how's inflammation? How's blood sugar stability? How's sleep? How processed is the overall diet? How's blood pressure? How's movement? Because heart health is not one number, it's a pattern. That said, if someone has been advised to watch cholesterol, a thoughtful approach might be 1 to 2 eggs per day, while focusing even more on the bigger picture: fiber, vegetables, movement, and cutting back the foods that most often worsen metabolic markers. And there are a few situations where extra caution makes sense. If you have a confirmed egg allergy, eggs obviously aren't a fit. If you have a rare genetic cholesterol disorder, then you deserve personalized guidance from your clinician. If you've had gallbladder removal or struggle with fat digestion, you may do better starting with 1 egg and building slowly. And if you're sensitive to histamines, fresh cooked eggs without reheating may sit better. And remember, that's not fear. That's simply you, working with your body. With that said, this brings us to a moment that matters. Because eggs aren't just about numbers, they're about how you feel. So here's a question to gently reflect on. When you eat a protein-centered breakfast, like eggs, do you feel calmer and steadier through the morning, or do you still feel a crash and a craving a couple hours later? If eggs keep you satisfied, that's a useful signal. That's your satiety system working. Protein and natural fats can support hormones that tell your brain, we're nourished. And when that signal is strong, snacking often quiets down on its own, not because of willpower, but because your body feels safe and fed. And for many older adults, that steadier rhythm can support mood, energy, and even better choices later in the day. Now let's talk about something people don't realize. The way you cook eggs matters. Eggs are simple, but cooking methods change how the fats behave. Gentle cooking tends to be the best friend of nutrition. Soft-boiled, hard-boiled, poached, over-easy, scrambled on low heat, and when you use a fat to cook them, choose something stable: butter, ghee, or olive oil on low heat. What you want to avoid is blasting eggs on very high heat until they are browned and crispy, especially in highly processed vegetable oils. High heat can oxidize fats, and that can shift a nourishing meal towards something that feels heavier in the body over time. A good visual to remember: a healthy yolk is soft and golden, not dry, gray, or overcooked. Now, if you want a simple daily rhythm, Here are a few calm templates you can rotate without turning breakfast into a math problem. If you're focused on steady weight and appetite, 2 eggs with vegetables is a strong foundation. Add spinach sautéed lightly, tomatoes, onions, mushrooms, whatever feels good. If you're focused on strength, recovery, or maintaining muscle, 3 eggs with a fiber-rich side can work well, like greens, beans, or a small serving of potatoes. If you want mental clarity and steady energy, 2 eggs with avocado or a drizzle of olive oil can support satiety and provide fats your brain uses well. And if you're busy, 2 boiled eggs with fruit can be simple, portable, and surprisingly grounding. The goal isn't to eat eggs the same way every day forever. The goal is to build a pattern your body recognizes as supportive. So let me offer one more question, because this is where people often get stuck. Have you noticed how your body feels different when you rotate foods instead of repeating the same ones every day? If you have, that's not random. Your digestion, your immune system, and your gut bacteria tend to like variety. Rotating foods can reduce sensitivity, support better nutrient coverage, and help you notice patterns more clearly. When you pay attention, without judgment, you start learning your body's language. And that's the kind of senior health tips wisdom that compounds over time. Not overnight, but steadily. One more important note, just to keep this grounded. If you have specific medical conditions or you've been advised to follow a particular nutrition plan, it's always wise to bring these changes into a conversation with your healthcare provider. Not because eggs are dangerous, but because your history is personal and you deserve guidance that fits you. So then what's the bottom line? Eggs can be a nourishing, steady, protein-rich tool, especially after 60, when they're cooked gently, paired with whole foods, and used as part of a larger pattern that supports blood sugar stability and low inflammation. For many people, 2 to 3 eggs per day is a comfortable, realistic range. Some do well with more, some do better with less. And the right number is the one that supports your energy, digestion, and lab markers over time. If you want to take one small step, here it is. Build one breakfast this week that leaves you feeling steady. No crash, no urgency, no chasing sugar mid-morning, and then notice how your body responds. Because you're not too old to feel better, you're not stuck with the body you have today, and your body responds to support. Every day is another chance to care for the body that's carried you this far. Keep learning, keep moving, keep believing in your own strength, because aging isn't slowing down, it's leveling up. If today's message resonated, take a moment to subscribe, leave a thought in the comments, or share this video with someone who could use a little encouragement. Because, together, we're proving that aging well isn't the exception, it's the standard.